Hey everybody, it's ShadowStar here, and it is finally time for me to review the Sun and Moon anime. A piece of the anime that I had never really seen. I'd only seen maybe a couple of episodes before I recently watched through it, and honestly I enjoyed it way more than I thought I did. I well and truly loved this Sun and Moon anime. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things people dislike or had problems with the Sun and Moon anime. A lot of people criticize the animation. Well, first off, when they say animation, they mean art style, because animation is the movement, and the movement is fine. In fact, it's better. The slightly more rubbery and rounded look to the characters allows for more flexible art style. Sure, Ash looks a little different, but honestly, you adjust after a couple of episodes and it really doesn't make a big difference. All the characters look fine. And the characters you'd never seen before, you don't notice anything because you've never seen them before, so it doesn't make a difference art style wise. Characters you had seen before, like Ash and a few others, they definitely do look different, but they feel the same, they act the same, they have the same voice. I don't care what anyone says, it's still the same Ash. The pacing and the structure of the seasons is also different. Rather than going on a journey, we're mostly stuck in the same location. And you'd think that'd be boring, but I honestly liked it. You grew to know the locations and the characters more, rather than just having three people constantly going on the road, constantly having the same old random stuff happen. You get to know the characters, so the show, even when it's not doing proper plot-based episodes, it feels more character-driven, and because of that, even episodes which are technically filler feel a bit more fun and just they're so enjoyable, lighthearted, and the characters are all enjoyable, so the filler, when it happens, is enjoyable. And the pacing is still pretty good, a nice balance between Ash's journey, filler episodes, and also heavy story episodes, because we do get some occasional arcs. But Ash himself is still Ash. He's not an idiot. He has not been reset despite what people say. He still knows how to kick ass when he actually has a battle. It's just he doesn't have as many battles as he usually would since he's not on a constant journey. So you get to see Ash just having fun. It feels like Ash not constantly in a rush for the next gym, not constantly determined to do something, but you get to see Ash have fun. And he has an interesting team, because the one thing Sun and Moon does is it has both a lot and little. Little in the fact that Ash, as well as all of his friends, have a very small team. It's Ash's smallest team yet. Only 4 Pokemon are consistently on his team, 2 come around at the very last minute. So obviously you've got Pikachu, and it's still great, it still has some good battles. It learns Electro Web, which is much cooler than Electro Ball, but I still miss Volt Tackle. You've got Rowlet, who is the one Pokemon who never evolves, and it should have had a few more battles. It was great in the very end when it had a rivalry with Howl's Decidueye, and it decided it wants to use an Everstone. And that was great, and it had some cool tactics then. But early in the seasons, I just wish they did something a bit more with Rowlet, other than the recurring joke of it's always sleeping. It did have a cool friendship with Melton. But we have to talk about Lytton, obviously one of his star players. It's not the fire type you're used to, like Charizard or Charizard or Infernape, I mean, but it definitely does have some good stuff. Obviously, it doesn't even evolve into Incineroar until his final battle. In fact, he never uses Incineroar in a battle because he evolves it and then that's it, it's done. The battles are over. But getting back to Lytton, we have to talk about the episode before it was even caught, Lytton's star episode, the episode with Stoutland. And I had heard about this episode, and wow, I didn't think a Pokemon would go there. Prior to Sun and Moon, the Pokemon anime, especially in the English dub, had really tried shying away from anything of the concept of death. But the anime has quite a few episodes which really focus on it, so you couldn't just get around it. You couldn't just try and not mention that word. They don't use the word death exactly, but obviously you still know what happens to Stoutland. It got old, it couldn't be healed, and you get a very emotional episode. It's not just the emotions of watching Stoutland die, but the emotions of watching what happens to Lytton as it doesn't know what to do with itself, and it has to just cope with it and grieve for a while. And it was honestly a sweet, somber, and sad episode. I was impressed. And then you get Lytton developing a rivalry with Kukui's Incineroar, which helps it evolve, which helps pay off in its final battle. So Lytton wasn't a great team member. You've also got Rockruff, who it's unique because it evolves into an orange Lycanroc, which actually happened before Ultra Sun and Moon, mind you. So it was a little preamble for that. But yeah, Lycanroc, who he starts off a bit like Charizard. It's not like he's disobeying, but he kind of has a rage mechanic. It's a little bit like Infernape, but not as weird, where sometimes he'll get really pissed off and not pay attention and it'll cause him to lose. But he gets a handle on it, and then he becomes a great fighter. He develops a rivalry with Gladion's Lycanroc, so you get a lot of great matches there. Then you've got two of Ash's latecomers who barely count. You've got his Poipole, who wasn't really his team member. He befriended a Poipole during the Ultra Adventures for a handful of episodes. He didn't use it in battle or anything, it just kind of stuck around till the story said, alright, it's time for you to be plot relevant, and that was it. Then it comes back at the very last second of the Pokemon League evolved, so Ash could use it because Ash was actually quite a short team, so he needed a 6th team member. But what about his other team member? Well, you've got the mysterious Pokemon Melton. Again, a Pokemon which did absolutely nothing. It just kind of stuck around until it evolved into the Pokemon League, and then it was like, okay, now Ash has a cool fighter to use in that final battle because he really needs it. So yeah, like I said, his last two team members don't really count. You're really just focusing on Pikachu, Rowlet, Lytton, and Rockruff, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes the advantage to the smaller teams is you really feel like you get to know each Pokemon well, as opposed to Unova, which had like 8 or 9 of them, and you don't care for any of them. I suppose you also have his Rotom Pokedex, which isn't really his Pokemon because he doesn't catch it, but at the same time, it's still his. But more to the point, if you hate Rotom Pokedex in the games, you'll hate him even more here. Outside of just being a Pokedex, he's the most annoying character. He reminds me a lot of Silent. He's very much like Silent. He gets enthusiastic about things, he knows a lot of things, but all in all, he just comes off as annoying. He's the least favorite character in the whole show. But speaking of my favorite characters, of course, you've got Team Rocket, who... wow, Team Rocket was so good in this. First off, because we're always in the same location, Team Rocket get to build a base, they get to stay in the same location, you get to see them develop as characters because they actually do stuff. You get to see, they befriend the Beware who's always there for them, and then you get great moments like when Beware has to come fight off an Ultra Beast, or when Team Rocket finally defends Beware. There's so many cool moments that, a lot of the time Beware's used as a gag, but at the same time, it's really cool in those few episodes where Beware actually does something and you realize what a badass it is. But yeah, Team Rocket actually catches 2 really cool Pokemon. It catches Mareanie, which is alright, it's kind of cackney, it does that joke with James. Then you got Mimikyu, which develops a rivalry with Pikachu. It's creepy, it's awesome, and it puts up an amazing fight against Pikachu too. So it's honestly great, and you get a few episodes devoted to it. One thing I love is there's quite a few episodes which really focus only on Team Rocket. They kind of just not focus on Ash, and it's really a heavy Team Rocket episode. And that's the thing I love about this show, is sometimes we just have episodes really focused on 1 or 2 characters. Sometimes it's just Team Rocket. Team Rocket get to do plot relevant things, like they get to get a Z-Ring, they get to participate in a trial, they get to participate in the Pokemon League, although they don't do too much, but it's still so cool to see them. And I just love seeing them in the same location, being their good old Team Rocket selves. Unlike Unova, which, while it was cool, it's great to see them here being their great selves. They get to have a fine balance of recognition from Giovanni, but also being their fun Team Rocket selves. Now let's talk about Ash's friends. All of them are fun, you get to know them all well. none of them really have huge teams, but because almost all of them keep at least one Pokemon out every episode they're in, you really get to know their main Pokemon, so it feels like you've got a large cast of characters and their Pokemon. First off, we'll talk about one of my favorites. I don't know if she's a loved character or an underrated character, but it's Lana. She's just so fun. She's so cute. I love her deadpan voice and the jokes she tells. Maybe it's just me, but I'm a sucker for a character with deadpan voices and those great reaction shots of when somebody does something and they just come in with a snarky comment. Lana's just the best, and she can prove herself well in a battle too, especially in the Pokemon League against Mallow and other characters. Her Primarina takes forever to evolve, and it was cute as a Poplio, but when it does, it puts up great fights in the Pokemon League. Then you got her Eevee, which kind of had its own little story, because for a few episodes, you'd see Eevee at the end of the episode and it just be doing its own thing until Eevee finally meets the main characters and is caught, and it's just an adorable Eevee. It's a shame it just didn't do more. Then you got Mallow, a character I didn't care for. She's not bad or anything, she's just not one of the ones who stuck out to me. The only redeeming story she ever had was when you find out her mother passed away, and they again get into some really heavy plot points involving death, where she misses her mother, but more to the point, the last thing she said before her mother passed away was that how much she hated her, but then she hates the fact that she said that. So again, the Pokemon anime really got into some heavy topics, and then she catches a Shaman for some reason. It doesn't do much, it's adorable, it has one very tiny battle in the Pokemon League, and that's it. It'd be nice if the Shaman had a bit more of a plot other than, oh, look, a cute Shaman, and it's gone. But oh well, that's Mallow. Speaking of an underrated character, we have Sophocles. I think he's just adorable, to be honest. Other people find him not as exciting as most of the other characters, but I found him to be enjoyable. See, it is possible to have the character who's nerdy and obsessed about things and not have them be annoying like Silent or Clement. He's more, I wouldn't say like Max, but a bit better than that. He's better than Max. It's Max done right, although I still love Max. So, honestly, Sophocles is great. Take a shot every time. Take a look at a shot of him in bed with his Togedemaru sleeping because he's afraid of the light, afraid of the dark. It's adorable. And Togedemaru is adorable too. It's just, you gotta have that cute Pikachu clone, and Sophocles is just great. He doesn't have too many arcs other than building robots for like that racing competition, but hey, he was a fun character to have. You've got Kiawe, who I didn't really care for him. He was a good battler, there's no denying that, and he was kind of a rival for Ash, especially early on, because he was the only classmate who had major experience other than Ash, so that was nice. But other than that, I can't really think of any stories. He had a few cool battles in the Pokemon League, but that's about it. But like I said, it's a character-focused series rather than a journey, so it's all about the characters. Speaking of characters who had a lot of story, you've got Lily, who has a lot going for her. You've got her Vulpix, which is just adorable, and she just really goes so far from being the fragile Lily who stays indoors and doesn't touch Pokemon, to being the Lily who has big stories involving her mother, to being the Lily who makes it to the Pokemon League and uses a Z-Ring. Honestly, Lily had some of the best character development, of course. She does have a lot of times in the middle where she's kind of not doing much, and she does have a catchphrase which I feel like was ripped off from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged in that one episode where she says, "I read a great book about that once." She says that all the time, it's really weird. I wonder which came first. I can't remember. But more to the point, Lily's a great character. Her voice is slightly annoying, but other than that, who cares? Lily's a great character, and she had some great stories. Speaking of Lily, you've got Gladion, another rival for Ash, who, outside of the couple of stories where he's connected to Lily and Lusamine, he didn't do much. There were a few episodes where he had a rivalry with Ash, and his Lycanroc had a rivalry with Rockruff, but other than that, he didn't do much. He's still a great rival, and he's an interesting one. He's not a rival like Paul or Gary, who's against Ash. He's not a stupid rival like some of the Unova ones. He's just a rival. And we found a perfect balance, and that's great. And they had a really good battle in the Pokemon League. It was one of the better ones, of course, but the Pokemon League was great, as I'll tell you. Speaking of characters who just seem like a waste, you've got Hal. He had one appearance before the Pokemon League. He sets up a rivalry with Ash's Rowlet. Then he has a battle in the Pokemon League. Has a cool battle with Rowlet where you think he wins, but then he loses because Rowlet was asleep. And that's about it. Hal is weird. He has a weird voice. He doesn't do much. It's a shame. They bring it in. You think, oh, here's Hal from the games. And he does nothing. Oh, well. Then you've got Team Skull, who, let's face it, they're just as stupid and as annoying as in the games, but I kind of came to like them in some respects. I liked anytime they interacted with Team Rocket was really good. Now, I don't like Team Skull always rapping. That being said, a Team Rocket, Team Skull rap battle, as we saw, was amazing. And then you've got Guzma, who comes out of nowhere near the end. He's a great challenger. He's another big character we get to have in the league, and he really ties together the whole Team Skull story. And it's interesting because this whole series is one of the few series where there is no evil team per se. You've got Team Skull, but they're not really evil, they're just annoying and dumb, like the games. But since there's no evil Ether Foundation, there's no evil team, and it made for an interesting story. Because you also had character stories. You had the Lucamine story where Lucamine gets kidnapped, and we spend several episodes trying to get her from the Ultra Beast wormhole. And that's the one thing I love, is they're not afraid to stretch out those arcs or stories, and most of the stories and arcs don't feel rushed because, as I've always said, why rush an arc when you're just going to have to fill time with filler episodes? There's still plenty of filler episodes from here to there, but they at least take time with the story, and you really get to feel like the story takes its time so you can have plenty of nice character moments, whether it's characters having great fight scenes where, because there's a lot of characters, I love big characters. I love character scenes where there's a lot of characters doing a lot of things. So that was great. So you got to have the Lucamine story. She's not the Lucamine from the games, but it's a cool take they did on her where, rather than being borderline abusive, she's more neglectful, but also just not really paying attention to Lily and Gladion, and that kind of leads into her downfall in her story. But then she gets put on the sideline, but not really, because we get the Ultra Guardians. We get this really cool, somewhat cheesy thing where every handful of episodes, Ash and all the classmates have to go fight off Ultra Beast. But they do this cool thing where, like, they put on a bunch of suits, you go through this cool changing clothes sequence like you do in, like, a Power Rangers show or something like that. You get this cool, like, Thunderbirds Go action sequence every time they take off, and like Lucamine's their commander. It's really cheesy but really cool, and I really love it, and I love seeing them all in their outfits. Speaking of outfits, when I was talking about Lily, it's one episode only, but we get another Pokemon Ping Pong episode, and take a look at Lily in the ping pong outfit. It's adorable, and she's adorable in that outfit. But getting back, we got the Ultra Guardians, which you lead into the Ultra Beasts, and rather than, most of them aren't big dramatic plots, but they're like filler episodes with a cool twist, because you get the Ultra Beasts and you get a unique take on them rather than just being, oh, look, a ferocious Ultra Beast is attacking. A lot of the times the Ultra Beast doesn't realize it's doing harm, and we just have to send it home. The only time we have Ultra Beasts attacking is the Necrozma arc, which, again, another arc that took off a few episodes and had a lot of people showing up, and had Lunala and Solgaleo and Poipole and everyone showing up, which was great. And then you got the Guzzlord. It's not an arc, it's one episode in the middle of the Pokemon League, but since it's at the Pokemon League, you get so many characters, all of Ash's friends, all of the Guardians, all of the leaders, everyone is here and they fight Guzzlord. You even get like Beware doing a cool fight against Guzzlord, and then Team Rocket shows up and helps. It's like, even in a show, even in a series where Team Rocket is kind of put on the sidelines and just kind of having fun, you still get that Team Rocket helps out in a big fight scene moment, and I love it. But speaking of the biggest highlight of this series, it's the Pokemon League. quite easily the best Pokemon League in the Pokemon anime. First off, we have so many characters showing up. It is a case of everyone who makes it past the first round is a character we have seen before. And we see every battle in the Pokemon League. I don't mean, we see every one of Ash's battles. No, we see literally every battle that physically takes place in that Pokemon League. It goes for 17 episodes. And you might think that stretches on, but it really doesn't. Nothing is rushed and no time is wasted. And that's the thing I love. I've always been saying Pokemon Leagues have no excuse to be rushed when you're wasting time with filler. So what? We didn't waste it. We spent almost the second half of the last season with the Pokemon League. We first off get this cool battle where we have 151 participants and we have to knock it down to 16. You'd think, okay, what are they going to do? They said they were doing a battle royale, so I thought, it's a bunch of 4-way battles as a quick way to thin the herd. No. It's one battle where literally every single person is on the field. And you just fight until 16 people are left. And it's both hilarious, stupid, but amazing. You get some really cool moments. As I said, not only was there 16 characters we already knew, but they even threw in a few cameos. I challenge you, think of a character who was relevant in the anime in Sun and Moon. They are in the league in some participant, in some way. They're either the leaders who are acting as the judges, they're either some of the observers like Lusamine, or they're challengers. Like, you get lots of people. You get Team Skull, you get Lusamine, you get Alima, you get that one recurring real estate guy. You get all these recurring characters, and then you get big characters. You get Ash, you get all his friends, you get Gladion, you get Hal, you've got Team Rocket. You really pad it out, so you've got 16 participants, and you see every single battle. It's amazing, and that fight scene with 151 being knocked down to 16 was so cool. You get little cool moments like Team Rocket knocking people out, Ash teaming up with, like, Gladion. There's lots of little teamwork, because, like, people would help each other out, because they want people to survive to the first proper round. You get Team Rocket, which, as cool as it was to have them there, my one downside is I wish they had a proper match. Instead, you just get Marini fighting Wobbuffet because Jessie didn't want to lose, but instead she does lose. But it would have been a cool thing because, let's face it, James and Jessie have almost never had a proper face-off, and this was a region where both of them had some really cool Pokemon in Marini and Mimikyu, so seeing a proper fight would have been cool, but oh well. James does win, but then gets knocked out by Gladion, because of course he would, but oh well. You get great fights like Guzma versus Lima, where you get a really cool fight against like a Mega Kangaskhan, which, again, a really cool fight scene because Guzma is really strategic and he makes sure that the Kangaskhan can't hit him. You get really cool fights like Lana versus Mallow. It's a case where just because you know a character is going to win doesn't make the fight any less good. The Lana versus Mallow fight was a great fight with lots of cool Z moves and lots of cool stuff. It was a great fight for Mallow, and also Lana is just amazing. Primarima was amazing. Lily versus Gladion. Obviously Lily's not going to win, but it really shows how far she's come. This league is just filled to the brim with character moments, character development, and so on. It's truly the climax to the series. So, sometimes the leagues kind of feel formulaic, but not this one. The league felt like it was a climax to the series. Then you've got Guzma, another great fight between him and Ash, because Guzma hates Kukui, and you get a great fight scene between them. Again, really cool. Then you got Ash versus Gladion in the final battle. It's a great rivalry fight because we've been wanting to see you've been wanting to see Lycanroc versus Lycanroc, which is really cool. You also get this really cool thing where he uses Zoroark like it is in the games where it's in disguise. And I loved that because even I was thrown for a loop for a few seconds because the Zoroark is pretending to be Lycanroc and starts using moves it shouldn't know, and you're like, what? That's not Lycanroc. And then you realize it's Zoroark. So that was really cool. But Ash beats Gladion. And with that, Ash has won the Pokemon League. After 22 seasons, not counting the Orange League, Ash has won a full-blown Pokemon League. It took it, but we're here. I don't care what anyone says. The Carlos League was crap. I didn't want him to win them, but Ash deserved the victory. It was a Pokemon League with great participants, great battles. Ash was great, but it doesn't end there, because as winning, he fights off against Kukui, who, first off, has a ferocious team. We finally get the battle of Torracat versus Incineroar, which was amazing. It was a really amazing fight, and then Torracat evolves. And then you get the amazing fight of Pikachu versus Tapu Koko. That fight alone took a whole episode, and it was amazing. Ash finally wins. And I love the fact that they don't rush it. They really take in the fact that this is for Ash's first true victory. Even Ash can't believe it. Even Ash just stands there in shock. And you're like, holy crap, he won. It really is a moment. And I've seen the fact that people, like, the first time this aired, there's a huge crowd cheering for it, like in real life. This was a historic moment. I don't care what anyone says. I am so glad for this Pokemon League. It is what I have always wanted in a Pokemon League. Tons of characters we already know, lots of great battles, but more importantly, it didn't waste time, it didn't rush anything, it took the time it needed. Perfect. The only other thing we have to say is, of course, once again we have returning characters, but is it Shitty Serena? No. It's Misty and Brock. They're back. Brock haven't been seen since season 13, and Misty hasn't been officially seen since season 8. The only main complaint is outside of that Mystery Mewtwo movie, Misty has never used her new voice until now. And the problem is she sounds way too much like May, but oh well. Brock still sounds the same, and there's a lot of cool references, which I'm glad. They came back, they did some cool things, so hey, that was nice to see. But all in all, I really, really loved the Sun and Moon anime. I honestly didn't expect it to love it this much. There's so many great character moments. The characters are awesome. And rather than focusing on a journey, we focused on characters, and I just loved it. The animation style was goofy at times, but I found it cute. It just led to great moments, and the Pokemon were just adorable. There were so many really random, silly episodes that were filler, like the episode where none of the humans are there and the narrator talks with them. You get some really cool episodes like, there's the Haunted House episode, or just any episode. And the silly filler episodes work better because we get to know the characters, rather than having to have half of it be done with characters we've never seen before, which would often happen in a filler episode in the other series. So, because we've got a bigger cast, we always care about the characters, and it's just great. I loved it. The only downside is there isn't much of a bridge. I suppose there is. Ash does say he wants to travel the world, which leads into Journeys, and that's about it. There's no Journeys Pokemon who shows up, but there's no Galar Pokemon who show up, but oh well, we've stopped leading series into the next series anymore, and I don't mind it, but it is what it is. And I really love this fresh take they took, and I'm glad each series is doing its own thing and not being so formulaic. Anyway, I've finished Sun and Moon. I've finished my rankings. I've finished my reviews. The only thing left, I will rank which series is the best, and I will rank which Pokemon League is the best. I'll still review the movies, but other than that, I've finished my watch through, and now it is time. I have finished. Sun and Moon was amazing. I will see you next time for more Pokemon reviews and other things as well. See you next time.